Welcome to my review of Cold Pursuit. Now this was a very controversial film when it came out, obviously with Liam Neeson making the remarks that he did, and I would almost suggest maybe he just felt he needed to egg this movie up, because this is probably the most disappointing Liam Neeson movie I've ever seen. It was almost like just because Liam Neeson was in it, that was all the director had to do. It's okay, we've got Liam Neeson, we don't actually have to make it a good movie. It's got Liam Neeson in, everyone will go and watch it. To me, this film was terrible. Might feel a little bit harsh, but it really was bad. Early on in the movie, I thought to myself, my God, is this it? Is this what the movie's about? Is this how it's going to be? And then about halfway through, it started to get a little bit more interesting as the plot developed. But ultimately, it just still came away with a feeling of just underwhelmed, just disappointed, just not at all impressed. And as you know, I'm a Cineworld Unlimited member, so it didn't cost me anything other than my time to go and see that movie. But my goodness, if I'd paid to see that movie, I think I'd be feeling possibly sick right now, especially considering it's what, £10 a movie these days. So yes, very, very disappointing. If you've seen the trailer, then well, if you've heard anything about this movie, you'll understand it's a revenge movie. As you know, I'm not going to go into the details about what happens, where and why, because we like to keep our film reviews unique and with zero spoilers. But just very disappointing. Very disappointing. The movie was trying to be funny. Now, at first, I thought to myself, like very early on, there's something that you think, oh my God, are they trying to be funny there? Or am I just misreading the situation? And I thought, surely not, because it was cringeworthy. It wasn't in the slightest bit funny. It was painful. It was like the worst joke on the planet, on the history of ever. Oh God, it was such a bad joke. And then I thought, nah, that obviously wasn't meant to be a joke. But then I realised throughout the movie they literally were trying to be funny, and I didn't laugh once. In fact, instead of laughing, I was sighing and tutting to myself and thinking, oh my God. And there was quite a few people in the cinema house, and there was a laugh at the very end where something equally not as funny happened. But it probably was, of all the funny jokes, the one at the very end probably was the most amusing. But it was mildly amusing, and that got a bit of a laugh. But trust me, for every other supposed gag that this movie had, there was not a murmuring of laughter to be heard in the whole cinema, and there were quite a few people in. It was just such a disappointing movie. So you'll know if you've seen the trailer whether this is the kind of movie you want to see. Now, I'll go through my key points soon, but I just want to kind of get my grievances out there first. I'm going to keep this movie review short because there's not much to be said about this. It felt like at the end I was thinking, how do I describe this? If I was, to compare it to other movies, what other movies would I compare it to? And it was kind of, at the end, I thought to myself, do you know what? It feels a little bit like a cross between Fargo and Kill Bill. It felt throughout the movie that they were trying to be a little bit Quentin Tarantino, Scorsese type with the way they were presenting the key events, and I thought, yeah, I almost like it, but it didn't give me enough. Like, for instance, it could have almost been a PG. This movie, it could have almost been a PG. So if you read between the lines what I'm saying there, if they'd have cut out a little bit of the bad language, was there even any bad language? I forget now. But this was so close to being a PG, whereas I would have preferred it to have been at 18, okay? And they were far too... It was almost like they were trying to make a family movie with the laughter and no, if you're going to make a revenge movie with Liam Neeson in, then make it on the edge, make it extreme, make it shocking, but it wasn't. It was just, it was like I say, like they were trying to make a family movie. So, you know, it's a bit of a disrespect to Kill Bill and Fargo to compare this movie to either of those, because I adore Fargo. It's amazing. And also Kill Bill. As much as I find the Kill Bill movies a little bit hard to handle at times, because it's kind of cheesy and like, cringeworthy a little bit at times, but that's just Quentin Tarantino being himself. But I nevertheless did love Kill Bill. Whereas, you know, this kind of reminded me of those two in ways. But you'll know what I mean when you see the movie. I mean, obviously the main comparison with Fargo is the fact that it's set in Winterland, where there's a lot of snow. But there are all other small tiny little snippets of Fargo similarities, which I think you'll understand when you see the movie. So I won't say any more. So, oh goodness me, you know, if that doesn't put you off going, then I don't know what will. I mean, I'm not trying to put you off from seeing this movie, but I'm just trying to be realistic about whether or not this is worth going to the cinema. So, let's look at hitting some of my key points. I mean, let's go straight to it. Is this worth paying to see at the cinema? Jesus, no. If you paid £10 to go and see this, like say there's two of you, you take your missus on a date or something like that, and you paid 20 quid to see this movie, please just do what I'm going to do. I've just seen a homeless guy, just chatted to him on the way out. I'm going to go back and give him 20 quid. Just do the same, please. Just give 20 quid to a deserving homeless person on the street rather than spend 20 quid to see this movie. Or go and treat yourself to a DVD from HMV, you know, because this is so not worth paying to see at the cinema. I'm not even sure I'd pay to see it if the cheapest cinema I can think of is Unlimited. Sorry, not Unlimited. Empire Cinemas. They do £2.95 Tuesdays, where I'm not even sure I'd be happy paying £3 to go and see this. I think I would rather put that £3 towards some popcorn or some ice cream and go and see a really good movie and enjoy some essentially free ice cream because you didn't waste your £3 going to see this movie. Definitely give it a watch when it comes out on TV if I was you. I wouldn't even pay to rent it. I'd just wait till this comes out on TV and just give it a watch when it's on TV, because it is not worth spending a penny to see this movie. It really isn't, unfortunately. So please don't waste your money going to see it. And I don't know how the box office ratings have been, whether or not some of it might get blamed on what Liam Neeson said, but that has nothing to do with what he said. Isn't going to stop most people going to see the cinema. The reason why people won't go and see this is because it's not a very good movie at all, I'm afraid. Like I said, the main cringeworthy thing was how they were trying to be funny throughout, and it just wasn't funny at all. It was kind of quite painful. The only thing that gave me some enjoyment from this was the goings on in the movie. So the actual revenge element was, to me, a little bit boring, a little bit mundane, a little bit like, God, this is so toned down. This is almost like a family revenge movie. But what I did like about it was the should we call it the gangster background element that was going on. You know, there's some gangster kind of stuff going on in the background. That was the only part of the movie that gave me any real enjoyment, and even then it was so watered down compared to a good gangster movie that it was terrible, really. But that was the only thing that kind of kept me awake. I did come out of it feeling a little bit like a waste of my time. Couldn't wait to get out of there. I didn't wait until the end. So is there anything at the end? I'm sorry, I was out of there the second the movie ended. I wasn't interested. I just couldn't bring myself to wait any longer. Plus, I've got another movie that I'm reviewing in a few minutes, so couldn't stay around for that either. For that reason either. So scoring it out of 10, God, I was giving it a 6.2 in my head, but I feel like a 6.2 is generous. I think this should be in the 5s. It really should, like, 5.8 or something. I'd probably creep it into the 6s just because of the gangster element, but this really was, it was such it's in the 5s. 5.8. I'm giving it a 5.8 out of 10. That's all it deserves, I'm afraid. Definitely not worth paying to see at the cinema. Definitely not worth renting. Wait till it's on TV. There's no benefit to seeing it on the big screen. The big screen doesn't do this film any more justice than watching it at home on your TV would. It's one of those where there isn't really any spectacular cinematography going on, so just, don't stress, see it at home. Where to sit in the movies, don't. Stay at home. I sat right near the front. Popcorn muncher, no, you can't even eat popcorn because it had loads of quiet parts, particularly early on. So if you're eating popcorn, you're going to find that really annoying. So it's not a popcorn muncher. Steer clear. I'm sorry, this is probably the most critical I've ever been on a movie. I don't know whether I'm in a bad mood or whether this movie's put me in a bad mood. But I'm sorry, this was a shocker. Sorry, Liam Neeson. I love your movies. I love you as an actor. I forget who the director was. I did notice his name come up at the end, and I'm not sure I was too familiar with him. So maybe the director doesn't really have much kudos, much credentials, possibly. So a bit of a bad director. I don't know. Sorry if that's been harsh on the director, but yeah, sorry. I've gone through my key points. You know what I think about this movie. It is unfortunately shocking. If you feel differently, if you found it funny, maybe you've just got a great sense of humour, and my sense of humour sucks, and I'm getting too old and long in the tooth. I don't feel too old, but maybe I'm just miserable today. Maybe it's one of those days where I got out of bed the wrong side. But if you found it funny, if you enjoyed this movie, please let me know. I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear your comments. Love to discuss films with other people, whether good or bad. Unfortunately, this was the bad one. This is by far the worst movie I've seen, by far the worst movie I've reviewed since I started my review channel. So yeah, 5.8. Are we going to see worse? Look out for future episodes where I do the best and the worst of movies this decade. With the decade coming to a close, I will be doing the 10-year review of the best and the worst. And I do believe I have a movie that is so much worse than this. So much worse than a 5.8. Like the worst movie I ever seen. I'm going to say it. This decade I have seen the worst movie of my life, and miraculously I sat through the whole screening. So look out for that episode coming in the future, later this year. And please save yourself your money. Don't go and see Cold Pursuit. Get caught up with the Avenger movies, because the Avengers is coming soon, and the Avengers are awesome. That's worth paying £10 to go to the movies. So thanks for tuning in. Again, hit me up with your thoughts. Love to hear what everybody else thought about this, and I'll see you on the next review. Bye bye. Thanks for listening.